Hello and welcome back to the Blue Tinted Glasses YouTube channel. Today it is time for another opposition preview. As you can see on screen right now, it is of course Crystal Palace that Leicester have coming up this weekend. Looking forward to it now the international break is all but over. D from is it Back of the Nest, I believe?
Yes.
How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. As you've mentioned, international break is finally over. Well, we're approaching it, and I'm excited for a lot of Palace fans. This is when our season starts, to be fair.
Yeah, mate, 100%. I think we all agree there's too many international breaks, and I think we've got two more before Christmas. Is that right?
Yeah,
I heard
yeah,
that. Yeah.
Every month there's an international break till Christmas. Then afterwards, there's a little break from there till March. But we needed this international break. So yeah, I'm excited about watching Palace again after the international break for various different reasons. To be fair.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, let's get into it. Before we talk about the actual game and Leicester and all of that, what was your expectations going into the season? Because like you had a good end to the season, obviously with your new manager. You had like Elise firing on all fronts. You've obviously lost Elise. You've lost Anderson as well recently. You managed to keep hold of Gahey, of course, but even with those transfers that have happened, what were your expectations going into the season?
My expectations pretty much were still minimum top 10. I think that's the aim going into the season. We still kept Gahey and Eze. On top of that, I believe that we've got our strongest squad, not starting 11 because we lost Elise, since getting promoted to the Premier League about 11 years ago. So we've improved in departments that we've needed to. Unfortunately, due to how many games we played in a short span of time, all of our replacements weren't made in time. New signings were made, and afterwards they still couldn't play because of especially on deadline day because of the window for the weekend. So that is why essentially we've needed an international break. But yeah, I mean, top 10 should be the aim with this manager. We had a great end towards the end of last season. We've still kept a few of our stars. Anderson, from the outside looking in, it might seem like a big loss, but the replacements that we've signed, I think it makes sense. £30 million for Joachim Anderson, who on his day is a fantastic player, but it kind of reminds me of some of the players that we've had in the past where the neutrals look at maybe, I don't know, for an attacker where the neutrals just look at the skills, etc. But doesn't really, of course, you don't watch Palace week in, week out, so I don't expect everyone to know what happens to Palace. But when it comes to Anderson, defensively, I mean, on his day, he was very good, but he also had mistakes in him. And he had one or two areas of weakness. And he signed a 5-year deal at Fulham, which we don't really give long-term contracts to anyone over the age of 30. We signed a younger replacement in terms of Lacroix, which is who has worked for Glasner at Wolfsburg when they finished fourth in the Bundesliga. And around that time, working under Glasner, he was linked to a big Premier League club such as Arsenal. So yeah, I'm not really worried about Anderson going. Let's see how quickly the new defenders can bed in and build that connection. But yeah, we've definitely improved the squad. Elise, irreplaceable. You can't replace Elise. So it was always going to be that case that the starting 11, as soon as Elise leaves, it's going to be weaker. You can't match it. And a lot of people are going to see now what he's going to do at Bayern Munich and at France as well. But he's an incredible talent. So yeah, I'm still happy. I'm looking forward to the season.
Well, on the Anderson transfer there, you mentioned you don't give big contracts to players over 30. Leicester City, of course, signed Jordan Ayew this summer. A 3-year contract, I believe. So not it's not massive. It's not like it's 5 years, but still, it's a length of contract that Leicester fans raised a few eyebrows at, I think, just because of our recent unsuccess, lack of success with the older players like Yannick Vestergaard, for example, who he starts for us now, but when we signed him on a 3-year deal, it was a disaster. He barely played. I've seen a mix. I think I've seen a mix of response and reaction from Palace fans as well. Leicester fans, it was quite negative. I think that was more to do with the fee. It looks like the transfer fee could rise to 8 million. I wanted to get your thoughts on that as a Palace fan who's watched Jordan Ayew week in, week out. What do you make to him joining Leicester and also the fee of £8 million?
Well, I'll quickly touch on the fee. I think the fee from Palace perspective is brilliant. We bought him for £2.5 million, and he's not the youngest player now, and he's got a year left on his contract, and we're managing to get potentially 8 million for Jordan Ayew, which is fantastic from us. But from the outside looking in, if you're signing Jordan Ayew for your football club, even if it was like Leicester, Jordan Ayew coming from Leicester to Palace, it doesn't seem the most exciting transfer. So I understand that. But the reality of the situation is, a lot of the teams that do get promoted nowadays, they just go straight back down. It is very hard to stay in the Premier League. It's becoming more and more difficult by the year. And Jordan Ayew is a cult hero at Palace. He was, at times when we needed him, he did step up. Of course, he's got limitations to his game, but from a Palace perspective, honestly, forget about the fee. It is very, very smart business by Leicester, because you do need players like Jordan Ayew. I don't know how many games he's played for you lot, but I watched the game against Villa. He was winning fouls there, which he does well. In fact, he's good on the ball as well. He's not a bad player on the ball. He's got technical ability. The only downside to Ayew is in front of goal. Funny enough, he scored that screamer for you lot. I think it was in a League Cup game. In front of goal and maybe getting those assists. But other than that, I think it is a right move. It is the right move for Jordan Ayew leaving Palace, because we signed his replacement, Ismail Assar, which is younger. Hopefully gives us a better end product as well. He's played in Europe in Marseille as well as in the Premier League in Watford. But for Leicester as well, I think I get it. It's Jordan Ayew, but if you're trying to win games, or if you're trying to draw games, and you got Jordan Ayew that's just there winning fouls, frustrating the opposition, which he does well, it's going to come a long way. And I feel like you will appreciate Jordan Ayew the more you watch him play. But yeah, he's not a bad player at all, technically. I think if he had the end product, he would not even be playing at Palace, because on the ball, he's very good.
Yeah, no, mate. I was very much in the positive camp when the news came out. I was obviously a bit wary of the price. I think we can all agree the price maybe was over the odds, but but that is only if the add-ons are met. I think probably they're quite heavily based on if we stay up. We
5 million, I think, is the fixed fee. So we still double what we paid for Jordan Ayew, but £5 million for a player that's got that much experience, that's still got energy in the tank, that could deliver that experience, as I mentioned, to help to potentially keep you in the Premier League. It's nothing. It's worth the risk, even if that is a risk nowadays in the Premier League. I don't think 5 million is anything. So I think it was sensible business by Leicester, and let's see how he does for you lot. But I think he'll do well.
Well, he won't. We'll move on to Edouard quickly, but let's just touch on him so Leicester fans watching this can get a good insight from a Crystal Palace fan. He won't be playing on Saturday, obviously, because it's a loan deal. But I wanted, what can you tell me about him? Because the way I look at it, Leicester were actually linked with him, and we wanted to sign him when just before you got him. Brendan Rodgers wanted to bring him from Celtic, and he was quite a good goal scorer in Scotland, wasn't he? But what was he? How was he? How was his time at Palace so far?
Let's just say that I'm happy, and a few other Palace fans are happy that he's moved on. It's quite the opposite of Jordan Ayew. When Jordan Ayew left, it was a case of, it's smart business. It's sad, but we're also losing a decent player. Like, it makes sense for him to move to Leicester, especially with you lot staying up. With Edouard, I did think, and it did happen, that if he was going to leave Palace, I think there would still be interest for him from one of the newly promoted sides. First of all, it was Ipswich, and it didn't work out. Then Leicester, I think that move makes sense, because he's not a terrible player, don't get me wrong. But for me, from what I've seen of him, is that he's very limited as well. He's very limited in terms of his play, in terms of link up play, and his ability on the ball is kind of predictable. He's dribbling. It's not something that you can rely on. He's got pace, but his decision making at times is off. Saying that, the reason why I did expect him to join a newly promoted side, which he joined because Nketiah signed for us, otherwise he wouldn't have joined, is because he has scored goals in the Premier League. No Palace fans could deny that. There was a debate between Mateta and Edouard. That's how, they were pretty much on the same level for a season or two. And slowly Edouard started to drift away, and Mateta claimed that spot. But despite that, I think last season he scored around 6 goals, which is not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. You need goals from somewhere. And the fact that you still have Vardy, you can have Edouard, who has, proven to score in the Premier League. He has done that. not like 15, 20 goals, but he can still score a goal. I think it's still smart business, especially on a loan move. Now, I don't know if there's I don't think there's an option to buy or obligation.
Not, no.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing around that. But and that's kind of sad. Well, to be fair, it can still work out for us. You know, we wanted to do the best at Leicester, come back to Palace. Hopefully, his value goes up, then we can move on from him because Nketiah now is at the football club. But Edouard, you have to kind of spoon feed him. That's how it worked. Like at Palace, maybe different environment, it worked different, but you put the ball on his feet in front of goal, and that's where you get the best out of Edouard. In the Premier League, it's not quite like the Scottish League where, you know, you saw clips of him maybe running past defenders, etc. In the Premier League, he's had them kind of moments, but the most recent game, I think that's where everything changed. It was against West Ham, where he played as we played with two number 10s, and he played in the number 10 position, and he's just limited. He's limited. Like for me, he can never play in that position, and even when we started him there, I kind of knew how it was going to go because, you know, he just doesn't have the technical ability. He's not that skillful player. Like he's just kind of, maybe if he has open space, he has the pace to go and take advantage of the situation. But apart from that, I mean, in front of goal, you kind of have to give him the ball and hope for the best. I think that's how you get the best out of Edouard. But it could change. Maybe he didn't have the run of games at Palace, and that's why he couldn't get into the run of form. That could be the case. Maybe at Leicester, that could change.
But yeah, I was going to say, I just looked, and 57 goals in 94 games for Celtic. I know it's the Scottish League, it's different to the Premier League, but maybe there's something to be unlocked there. You know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he scored goals for Palace in the Premier League. It's not like he hasn't. That's the funny thing about Edouard. I mean, we've also had our debates about why do we still talk about Edouard if he's scoring goals, because there are still big limitations to his game. First game of the season, if you could look at the goal that was disallowed by Palace, kind of sums up Edouard. He was in an offside position while staring at two defenders on his left, literally staring at two defenders. He still managed to be offside, which resulted, of course, of the goal being disallowed. It's just moments like that which kind of separate him from other strikers potentially. And that is what I mean by, you know, giving Edouard the best opportunity by putting him in front of goal and trying to deliver the ball to him. But as you said, he scored goals for Celtic. He has scored goals for Palace in the Premier League. Now, different environment, it could help him as well.
Yeah, hope so, mate. Absolutely hope so. So let's move on to the game. I expect Leicester City to show up at Selhurst Park, very much similar to what we've seen in all three games, actually, where Steve Cooper's game plan at the moment seems to be just try and stay in the game for as long as possible. He hasn't really made attacking changes until 65, 70. In the Spurs game, we were 1-0 down, got back into it. In the Fulham game, we were 2-1 down. He made the attacking changes to get back in it. And then Villa, we were 1-0 down. He was about to make some attacking changes. They scored the second, and then that was it, really. We scored a consolation. But how do you see the game going if that is how Leicester show up? If Leicester show up and try and, you know, just have a bit of control, not do anything crazy, just try and stay in the game for as long as possible. Even if you go 1-0 up in the first half, we'll just carry on with the same game plan. Hope you don't score a second. How do you think Palace would fare against that?
It suits us, and that is why, from a Palace perspective, I'm excited about this game. As I've said, the new players will be playing for us as well. But also, I've watched Leicester against Tottenham. I've watched the Villa game in full as well. I think you've got some good players there. For example, Winks is kind of playing in a deeper role, which is, I don't know what you think about it, but even in the Villa game, he tried to get on the ball a few times to, you know, pass the ball forwards rather than sideways and backwards. Skip, another experienced Premier League player. But this game, especially with Leicester trying to keep possession, I think our press will be pressing pretty much high up the pitch. It will suit us in a way. And I think it'll be Palace, I guess, you lot giving the ball to us, try control possession. We don't really control possession for possession's sake. We could easily, you know, concede possession and hit teams on a counter-attack, even at home. That could still work for us. But from what I've seen of Leicester so far this season, and there have been some positives, Leicester haven't been awful at all. There have been positives, even in the Spurs game, for example. In the Villa game, there were spells, especially in the second half, where you of course, got that goal whilst making the subs. So there are threats there for Leicester. But from what I've seen so far in terms of how you play, I think it's going to suit us nicely in terms of pressing us. I don't know with the players that you've got, even though I think they've got good Premier League experience. I don't know if you did try to keep possession, for example, or play out from the back, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how you deal with the press. That's the one area that I'm looking at as a Palace fan, saying that maybe we could win the ball high up the pitch and try hit you lot, very close to your goal. So yeah, from a Palace perspective, I would lie if I said that I wasn't looking forward to this game.
Yeah. Well, the maddest part, mate, was that we came out the Villa game with the most possession, and it was like, whoa, we didn't expect that. But again, there was a slight change because in the Fulham game and the Spurs game, we played with a traditional like 4-2-3-1 with Winks and Ndidi, and then Facundo Buonanotte in the number 10, who's obviously on loan from Brighton. In the Villa game, we switched up and we didn't have any attacking midfield. It was kind of three. Well, we had Ndidi playing as the highest of the three.
I was confused about that. Just honest, your opinion on it, because I haven't watched Leicester in the Championship. I've watched the first game, the third game, the second game. I can't remember as much against Fulham, but I was surprised about Ndidi playing as like number 10. I mean, I thought Ndidi would be the deeper player. What's that about?
So it was Enzo Maresca last season, mate. Obviously, with Enzo Maresca, he kind of had Winks as the deepest, and then he had two kind of we called them advanced eights. They were just basically two eights that would get into the box as much as possible. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Wilfred Ndidi. And we saw Wilfred Ndidi, dribbling past players, scoring goals, getting assists. It was nuts. And now, obviously, back in the Premier League fans again are seeing it with their own eyes. So it's not what we want. It's not what Leicester fans want. We don't want to see it. Facundo Buonanotte was probably our best player in the Fulham and Spurs game. He just looked a different class to the other attacking options that we had. So we want him in the team. We've also just signed a number 10 an 8 and a 10 from Genk, Bilal El Khanous, Moroccan lad. And he's meant to be quality. We saw like 10 minutes of him, I think it was, or 15 minutes against Villa. So we'd like to see a bit of him. But yeah, with it, Wilfred Ndidi, we all know him as a 6, kind of thing. And so last season kind of just transformed him into this different player, but it was the championship tax and all that. He just had enough, I suppose, to play there. But yeah, I'd agree with you though. I think the way we've played so far probably will suit you if we show up at Selhurst Park. I think Steve Cooper again will just try and just stay in the game for as long as possible, and it's really pissing us off, mate, as Leicester fans, because in the spells that we've had against Spurs, against Fulham, against Villa, we've looked good enough to compete. When we're attacking, when we actually go at teams, we look quite good. And we're just not seeing enough of it. We're seeing maybe 5-minute spells here and there just to try and get an equaliser. And Leicester fans want to see us actually try and get the first goal in a game. And I get it. Fulham, Villa, Spurs, tough games. Of course they are, especially for a newly promoted team. Maybe you might try it against Palace. I'm not saying you're not a good team, by the way. I'm just saying Leicester fans are crying out for it. And Cooper got a lot. There were a lot of complaints on Cooper from the fans.
I don't know if he will though, because we've faced Steve Cooper a few times at Forest, so we know Steve Cooper. Yeah, and I just don't really see him trying that in an away game. But you never know. He could.
Mate, he played 3 DMs at home, so he's probably not going to go to Selhurst.
That's Steve Cooper for you. Like, he's going to be a bit more defensive than attacking. And I think that is why a lot of Forest fans were upset as well at the time. So yeah, I mean, Ndidi playing as a number 10, that would suit us massively because he's not number 10. Which when I was watching the Villa game, I was very surprised about that. I was thinking, is this the same Ndidi that I know as well? Maybe I haven't been watching Leicester enough. Maybe he's transformed into number 10, but still for me, Ndidi's profile, it doesn't really suit what a number 10 needs. You got players there that could play in that 10 position, which could cause us more damage, but maybe trying to keep, I don't know, Skip, Winks, and then Ndidi in the midfield, and maybe he's trying to, play Ndidi as a number 10 for that reason, because maybe he doesn't think Skip can play as a 10, which I don't think he can. But yeah, so yeah, I doubt, and I think that's as I've said, there's so many reasons, but Steve Cooper, who we faced at Forest times as well, we kind of know what to expect from him, which I get it, to be fair, in terms of from the outside looking in, as fans, of course, you want attacking football, which makes sense. Well, at least you try. Because when you do try, I mean, you do create chances. And if you keep saying back, then you know what's going to happen. Like, eventually you'll concede. But I think what he's trying to do right now is trying to pick up as many points as possible. So I think he's got that negative mentality that, let's try to get a point here, point there. Point. But in reality, especially at home, if you're not going to try at home, I mean, you'll be silly to try away from home, and if you're not going to try at home. And so that's why I do think he'll be sitting back, especially for the next game. But never know. International break, he might have had a few more, training sessions to work with the players. So he might change his approach, but I doubt it from what I've seen from it.
Yeah, after this game, we have Everton at home. So maybe that's the game to try it.
Big game. That's a big game. You can't sit back with Everton at home. Like, that would be even... It just doesn't make any sense. Like, you need to make sure you attack them. That side is right now mentally struggling. So maybe in that game, you might see a bit more of an attacking approach. But then again, even if you attack us, I think that even suits us even further, because there'll be more spaces in behind, which we're known to play on a counter-attack. Yeah. And in Chelsea game, that is why I predicted a draw, 1-1, because I knew that Chelsea would leave spaces open behind, so it kind of suits us. So, I wouldn't be against it if he decided to attack, but I just don't see that really happening, because I think he'll kind of know on a counter that gives us more of an advantage, especially at home for Palace.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Right, let's get some score predictions in. I'm going to go for... I'm usually quite negative, to be honest. Well, I have been this season, but I'm going to say a 1-1. If I was to go with my heart, my head would probably say 2-1 Palace. But yeah, I'll go with the 1-1. I reckon, again, it will be another close game. Would I take a point? Yeah, I mean, I have to, I think. I'm demanding 3 against Everton, but I'll take a point away at Palace 100%. What are you saying for the score prediction, mate?
I'm going to go with 2-0 Palace. I think the defense, finally, we're going to see the reinforcements, Trevor Chalobah, hopefully, Lacroix as well. So I think defensively, everyone should be fit and ready for this game. As I said, I've watched a few games. And at times going forward, especially with the first half against Villa, like, you do have 1 or 2 moments, but it's kind of like individuals. You're kind of relying on Ayew to create something, or Vardy through the middle. So I think we should have enough to contain you lot defensively, and it could be, I don't know, as you said, it could be 2-1, but I'm gonna stick with 2-0 at home. I think this international break with players rested, new players, also working with the new manager as well. So yeah, I think it should suit us at home, and hopefully we can get the 3 points, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, man. Let's see. So just obviously to let people know, where can everyone find you, and what have you got coming up on your channel over the next few days?
Yeah, so Back of the Nest on YouTube and all other social media platforms. So we've got previews, opposition preview. So of course we'll be doing one on our channel to get the Leicester perspective, reactions, watch along. So everything related to Palace, which is a Palace fan channel. So if you do want to see more Palace content, then head over there. We'll be recording a match preview too. Maybe you can get a few insights into how Palace could set up and our talking points going into the game. But yeah, thank you for having me on the channel.
Yeah, anytime, mate. I'll see you later on in the season, of course. We'll get you back on.
Yeah,
all right.
100%.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Remember to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Thank you.